Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. I'm your host, Chris Greene, Director of Network Expansion, and thank you so much for your time for tuning into our program today. We have a great show lined up for you today as we focus on our unique and amazing resource, Brand Sales, with the Director of Brand Sales, Daniel Dobrott. Danny's a longtime travel professional, longtime employee with Avoya, and leads one of the most dynamic and successful teams in our company. And we're excited that he's going to be joining us here for On Deck with Avoya for an Avoya Insider segment here in just a couple of moments. I think you're going to get a lot out of that today. And then once you hear from Danny and hear the amazing things that Brand Sales do, you're going to be inspired to reach out to avoyanetwork.com and get that process started. We also have our Eye on the Industry feature this week. Some of the stories this week include news that the Galveston cruise port is undergoing a growth spurt. Germany tabled that VAT tax until at least 2027. And ASTA, the American Society of Travel Advisors, they've announced their 2024 ASTA legislative dates, plus some results from the 2023 efforts. All of those industry insights coming your way here in just a minute. We're going to wrap up our show with details on our current promotions, touch base on our travel agent education, elite resources offered to the Avoya network, and all of our social media contacts, plus the ways for you to reach out. And like I said, start that process to affiliate with Avoya Travel, the #1 host agency and leisure travel. It's actually really simple. Like I said, you just go to avoyanetwork.com. So let's kick it off. This week's episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update, some industry insights, and our Eye on the Industry feature. This story from our friends at Travel Weekly: Texas's Seoul cruise port is having a growth spurt. The number of passengers sailing from the port of Galveston is on the rise as cruise lines make major terminal investments and base their newest and largest ships at the Gulf of Mexico location. Galveston's 3-terminal cruise port currently ranks as the 4th busiest of the U.S. The 3 busiest, of course, in Florida: Port Canaveral, Port Miami, Port Everglades there in Fort Lauderdale. That's because Florida is the epicenter of the cruise industry. But Galveston is growing and fast. The port estimates it will see 1.3 million passengers this year, its busiest ever, steadily rising from 860,000 in 2016 and surpassing its previous record of 1.09 million cruisers back in 2019, still kind of the standard in leisure travel. It's quickly recovered from a pandemic decline, growing to 1.4 million passengers last year. Now, according to Roger Reese, the port director of Galveston, which manages the port, he said 30% growth is unheard of in this business. But you know, people are cruising now. Yeah, tell us something we didn't know, right? And more of those people live within driving distance of Galveston than ever before, something the largest cruise lines have in their sight. Texas has been the 3rd fastest growing state in the U.S. over the past decade, with a population approaching 30 million people. That's second only to California. 50 million people are within a 12-hour drive of Galveston. And you narrow that search to an 8-hour drive, and you're talking 30 million people still within reach. So that sounds like a lot of potential cruisers and a lot of potential sales for travel advisors to me. Also, from our friends at Travel Weekly, the German Finance Ministry has decided to defer a value-added tax on Germany vacations until at least 2027, according to the European Tour Operator Group, ETOA. It's a victory for tour operators who sell Germany, as the VAT would have made vacations there more expensive for purchasing packages for people outside of the EU. In addition to making Germany vacations more expensive, the tax would have required tour operators to register and file tax returns in Germany, which they've previously not had to do. The VAT had been proposed all the way back in 2021, everybody looking to recoup money from COVID. Then it was postponed earlier this year in January, and now the VAT has been deferred again until 2027. So no new tax is a win, I think, for clients and certainly for the travel agent community. Of course, that's my personal opinion. And finally, in a story from Travel Pulse, the American Society of Travel Advisors, ASTA, has revealed the planned dates for next year's ASTA legislative days in the nation's capital. Always a big day for us here at Avoya Travel. The announcement comes on the heels of another productive and successful 2-day trip to Washington, D.C. We had Skip Fortier on earlier this year talking about that. He participated. Hundreds of members lobbied lawmakers on Capitol Hill, and they scored some big wins for the industry. Now, ASTA's 2024 legislative days, if you're planning in advance, will take place Tuesday and Wednesday, September 17th and 18th next year, 2024. So you've got a full 13 plus months in order to get ready. In the wake of this past June's legislative days, the U.S. House passed a bill to reauthorize the FAA, with 3 of ASTA's policy priorities included in that. ASTA legislative days, again, a big deal at Avoya Travel. Vice President of Network Expansion, Skip Fortier, is always up there on the Hill and is very involved with that. So we'll certainly continue to follow that story. Time to turn our attention to our weekly Q&A. And this week, I'm excited to highlight the topic of brand sales. This is such a unique resource that it's offered exclusively to those in the Avoya network. Imagine, if you will, as they said on the Twilight Zone show, that you've got a team of experts in some of the biggest leisure brands, experts whose sole purpose is to help you understand the nuances of those brands, to help you increase your sales with those brands, and then imagine that it was all part of the affiliation with the #1 host agency in leisure travel. Well, stop imagining, because it's the real deal, and we're going to find out the full scoop right now. So please help me welcome our returning Avoya Insider guest, Daniel Dobrott, Director of Brand Sales for Avoya Travel. Danny, great to have you back for another episode of On Deck with Avoya.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Happy to be here.
Danny, for those that didn't see your previous episode, can you give us a little detail on your background in the travel industry and how you came to your current position with Avoya Travel?
Sure. So I've really had the travel bug since I was 10 years old, when my grandparents took me to Europe for a month in summer back in '92. And ever since then, I've had the travel bug. I created my own travel company that was more in the tech website side back in 2008. Did really well with that, sold that to another online travel company, worked a lot in online travel startups. And then in 2015, really got a passion for cruising. My previous background was more on the hotel side, and really gained a passion for the cruising side of the business, and wanted to kind of explore that side of the industry, and discovered Avoya. And thought, Avoya is a great opportunity to really grow with the travel industry, especially on the cruising side, as that was the primary focus back then. And had a successful agency, loved it, and then was offered a job to come on this side with Avoya, just because I'm pretty much a travel geek. So educating people on what they don't know necessarily, and being able to optimize their offers to sell more is sort of a passion of mine. And so that's when I joined Avoya. But really been in travel for over 15 years now.
Sounds like getting you on board with Avoya was a win-win for everybody then. Can you give us a quick overview of what your department, Brand Sales, that resource, and how that has a positive impact on those in the Avoya network?
Sure. So we really kind of are able to help and assist the agency kind of twofold. One, if you're a new agency, maybe new to selling travel, here at the Avoya Travel, we're here because all of myself and my team are all experts. We've all been in travel for a long time, and we all specialize in certain brands. So we have that expert master level knowledge of the brand. So when you're new, we're here to really give you those guiding reins and those training wheels, if you will, so that way, okay, here's what you need to think about when it comes to selling NCL versus Royal Caribbean versus Celebrity versus Princess versus Globus Tours. And we're really able to help new agency owners really hone in on what brands do they have an affinity for, where they can truly grow their business, and truly understand what it means to use the advantages of that brand and their marketing prowess and their promotions to close more business and truly become experts. So we offer a master booking agent series, live quote coaching, so we can help independent agencies truly grow and build that foundation where they can truly become experts, and give them a shortcut to becoming that expert. In addition, for seasoned agency owners who maybe do a lot in a certain tour or a river or luxury perhaps, and now all of a sudden they've got a repeat client or referral asking about a brand that they're not really sure in. Well, instead of having them kind of dig through the weeds and try to become an expert within the next hour of getting that quote, they can just come to us. So for example, if we've had an agent recently, they sell a lot of Silver Sea. They know Silver Sea inside and out, but they had a client that they wanted to book a Globus tour with their Silver Sea. This agent wasn't well versed in Globus, so they were able to come to us, and we helped them with their quote within 15 minutes, made sure they understood all the promotions that they were getting for their clients, how to approach their clients with these promotions, and get those clients booked without them having to take a lot of stress or time outside of what they normally do and know well, and give them that additional resource.
As a follow-up, and you just kind of touched on some of the brands, but what are some of the brands, Danny, that you and your team do support?
So of course, being where we get a lot of the business, right? Of course, the big six brands, right? Which are your Royal Caribbean, NCL, Celebrity, Princess Holland, and Carnival. Those are probably the majority of the questions that we get and the majority of places where we help independent agency owners. We also, though, definitely offer support across a lot of luxury brands, such as Oceana. We do a lot with Atlas Ocean Voyages. We do a lot with various tour operators like CIE, Colette, and Globus. So we are constantly growing our brands as we bring on more staff on my team. But those are definitely just a few of the brands, and we support over 20 brands here at Avoya, where we can offer these resources, whether it be, again, becoming an expert or just the one-off helping with a quote.
You kind of mentioned your passion for helping earlier. Do you find, Danny, that those that participate in brand sales, that are engaged in that resource and engaged in their own business and our business model, do you find that those agencies at the end of the day just end up selling more and being more efficient in the sales that they do make?
Definitely, especially for those new to travel. Learning promotions, learning the different terminologies. It's like it's like trying to learn algebra while trying to learn German at the same time. So there is a big learning curve. We find that the agencies that really engage with our team and the early success team, but especially with the brand sales, they come to our live coaching, they email us consistently, especially in their new stage when they're sending quotes. So they're able to really gain their confidence level. And that what truly helps you become a better person selling travel is your level of confidence. Your clients will definitely book more with you if they feel like you truly know what you're talking about. So the agents that really have participated in our program with the various education opportunities we offer, including our recorded sessions that they can review on their own, really we see them within a good, I would say, 2 months, really start to get to a point where they're not needing to ask us questions anymore, and they're now at that expert level, closing Avoya Live leads at a high rate, generating good sale numbers. Again, there's a learning curve, but we're here as the team to kind of give you the shortcut to becoming that expert instead of learning by yourself. Because a lot of times when you're new to this business, you don't even know what questions to be asking. So it's not even about getting that answers. You don't even know what to be asking to get to that answer. We're able to help you formulate and understand the questions you need to be asking, which then helps you in turn learn. And so we really do see a huge increase in success for agents that choose to participate in our program. One thing I want to mention, the service we offer is 100% free. It's part of your Avoya network affiliation. There's no fee for meeting with us, one-on-one individual sessions, group sessions, emailing us for quoting assistance on demand. All of that is free and included with your Avoya affiliation.
But if you tried to source that elsewhere independently, I mean, the $ price tag that would be associated with the quality of program that you offer, it would just be mind-blowing. I mean, it really just shows the value that affiliating with Avoya Travel really is all about.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, this kind of born from a program from my old boss, Gina, because we realized, the two of us have tons of knowledge and understand how to use that knowledge to craft the better quotes, to really position an offering to a client where, of course, they're going to want to book this because we can talk about the experience. And we realized, well, there's a lot of institutional knowledge about the various brands here at Avoya, and we were not sharing that and capitalizing on it in a way that helped the whole network as a whole. Because one thing that you'll find here at Avoya, there's no competition with the live leads. There's no agents who say, well, I'm not going to help you because it's, I'm going to get mine. That's not the philosophy here at Avoya. And so our whole goal is to really just help agents get there. And the information that we offer is something that is different from what you get from vendor certification. Vendor certification, of course, is great. It's going to give you a knowledge about the brand, an understanding of what they offer, what they do, how they do it. But when it comes to actually quoting it and booking it, that's a wholly separate beast. And that's where really we come in and as the tactician for selling that brand and give you that opportunity. And really, there's no other host agency that offers really anything that we do.
I remember one time being with you, and I'm going to probably paraphrase, maybe not exactly your quote, but you looked at somebody, you said, well, do you want to make noise or do you want to make a sale? Right? I mean, and sometimes those things are kind of two different topics, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's great when you start a business and you think, oh, I'm gonna put up things on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and all that stuff. But what we find interesting is IAs, they do a lot of promotion or they take Avoya Live leads, for example, and then the worst thing happens. A client actually wants a quote and they don't know really what they're doing and they mess it up. And that happens. You're going to mess up. Any small business owner will tell you in any industry when you're starting out, there's going to be failure after failure, mistake after mistake. The best part is here at Avoya, there's a lot of opportunities to learn from those mistakes and create new opportunities for success. We're here so that way, if you do make a mistake, we can point out to you exactly what you can consider doing differently to avoid that situation going forward, because it really is truly, if you truly are the expert, you can. And one thing I'll share, of our multi-million-dollar agencies, the majority of their business does come from Avoya Live leads, and the majority of their business comes from usually 3 specialties because they are experts in those specialties. They know what they're doing. They have confidence level. They don't have to look up little details. And 97% of the time, anytime a client has a question, they know the answer versus having to say, let me get back to you on that. So that's
Yep.
really what drives success when selling travel.
Yeah, we're big believers in specialization here at Avoya Travel. And Danny, we know that specialization fuels growth. And as an agency in brand sales was to grow, they're certainly able to grow within the program, right? And still see positive results moving forward.
Definitely, because what I always suggest, especially if you're new to selling travel, to really focus growing your business with no more than 3 specialties. Because it's really going to take time to learn. Again, like I said, it's like learning algebra, in a foreign language. You really are going to have to hone in, and once you really kind of get how selling travel works, once you learn those kind of basic skill sets, it gets easier to sell other parts of travel and to be kind of, you want to be know everything, but really to truly focus in some things. And then what we can help independent agency owners, okay, maybe they start out taking Royal Caribbean Carnival leads, NCL leads, because they're abundant. It's an easier sale to do, but then they're looking at, okay, Danny, I'm secure here. Where do we need to go there? We will help and meet with them one-on-one to figure, okay, what's your passion? What side of travel do you find yourself yourself personally affinity for, and then help them grow. Okay, here's the next brand that I think would work in your portfolio to help kind of balance what you're selling, but also see success. So we definitely help agency owners go from even that nascent stage to that middle stage to even, okay, I'm at that middle stage. I want to start really blowing up my numbers, doing 7-figure sales a year. What should I look at next? And then we will help them also kind of get a good mix of brands that they can sell and take leads in to really become that multi-million-dollar agency.
Daniel Dobrott, Director of Brand Sales for Avoya Travel, is our featured Avoya Insider today. Danny, can you maybe give me a few tidbits of advice? I'm going to take advantage of your 15 years in the industry. Maybe we start with advice for a new agent and then maybe a bit of advice for a seasoned travel advisor on ways that maybe even the second half of 2023, they can increase sales and performance within their agency.
So for a new agent, if you're really brand new to travel, it's really about honing your skills and really, really specializing. I'd say having no more than 3 specialties is key when you're learning to sell travel. Yes, when we all start selling travel, do we want to sell Disney, Viking, NCL, Royal Caribbean, Princess Celebrity? Of course we do, and you can. However, when it comes to like growing a business and having a niche, you really, really do need to specialize. And when you look at really people in any sales aspect, there's a reason why when you go to a car dealership, they usually only sell 1 or 2 brands. They don't sell every single car that's available in the world, because you really do need to know your product and know the clientele that is going to be interested in that product. So for new agencies, I would say really take it piece by piece. It is overwhelming. Learning promotions, learning booking engines, learning rate codes can seem overwhelming, but just like anything, you're going to learn it piece by piece. And here at Avoya, we have countless resources that are going to help you every part of that path to get you to a point where you will have a sustainable self-running business. If you are a seasoned agency owner and you sell tons of business, look at your mix, right? I would say if you sell a lot of luxury, do you know and are you keeping yourself up with what's going on in luxury, right? We've got some big players making some big moves. Explorer Journeys, when there's 6 ships that are coming out by 2028. Crystal coming out with 4 ships. And all of the luxury products are going into expedition products now too. So are you keeping yourself up to date with your luxury clients who maybe they're, let's say, a Regent client. Well, Regent hasn't announced really any expedition ships yet. I guarantee you in the luxury set, expedition is becoming the big theme. Do you understand what other expedition products are out there and what their differences are? Because Chris, I'm sure you've seen in Antarctica, there's like 10 different companies that go to Antarctica now. And we used to have maybe one or two. So if you've got a luxury client that wants to go on an Arctic expedition, do you know which products to perhaps share with them? And do you know what those differences are? What is the difference between Silver Sea and Seabourn and Scenic, Atlas Ocean Voyages, Lindblad expeditions, and knowing how to really position that, and what are you planning to add for your luxury clients to really take advantage of the other products and offerings you can sell them?
See, I told you, you don't want to make noise. You want to make the sale. And it's these little tidbits that can certainly help you do that when you participate in brand sales through Avoya Travel. Danny, anything fun travel-wise that you've either recently completed or on the near horizon for you?
Well, so actually, next week, I'm taking a bunch of travel agents up to Canada for a Globus immersion tour, where they're going to learn about Globus. And what here we do at Avoya, immersion tours aren't a fam. Yes, they're a lot of fun, but it's really about engaging with the product, engaging with the people that make that product magical. Because our agents that go on this, I want them to understand, they have the same level of knowledge as though they've been on 15 Globus tours, so they can really understand and really sell that product from that perspective. And then personally, at the end of the month, I'm going on a 2-week European cruise with Royal Caribbean on Odyssey of the Sea that I'm looking forward to trying out. Hopefully, it's not too hot.
Hopefully it's an amazing time. What do you get out of travel still? I mean, we've both been in the business for a long time. We've been fortunate enough to see a lot of places and visit a lot of really cool locations. But what do you personally get out of travel still?
So for me, I'm a big history buff. So being anywhere in Europe is kind of my number one, because I love European history. So I love to, be at places where I know these amazing things or amazing people have lived. Close second to that though, is really the people that I get to interact with. The people in those towns that live there. What is life like? What do they enjoy? What does it mean for them to have fun? Also, too, when you're traveling, like on a cruise that I normally do, getting to know the crew, because the crew can make your time so amazing, so special, so memorable. And it really just makes you at ease and have a great time. And then just other people that you're traveling with. Where do they come? What are their backgrounds? I've met some of my closest friends while traveling on various parts of the world in cruise ships. So I think it's just getting yourself out of your comfort zone, out of your home. We all have beautiful homes. But for me, that was the toughest part of the pandemic, being stuck at home and not being able to go travel internationally. So for me, it's just getting myself out of my comfort zone and experiencing different people from different backgrounds. But we all are, for some reason, here at the same place at the same time.
Very well said. A couple more before we wrap up today. Wanted to offer you a chance, Danny, just to share any thoughts on whatever subject in the travel industry that you think is important to cover that we haven't so far.
So I really think, like, right now we're seeing travel really boom back. We're seeing cruise lines bounce back. Royal Caribbean just had their earnings and they're bouncing back. They're paying down their debt that they accumulated during COVID. And there's even talk of them starting to go back and rejuvenating their ships on Royal Caribbean and Celebrity. And those programs have paused. So I think it's really key right now to really think about coming back to travel. I know COVID devastated our industry, like it devastated so many, but especially the travel industry, the cruise industry at large. But I really do think before COVID, we were in the kind of the golden age of cruising. And I think everyone thought the travel industry was going to be really down on its knees and take a long time to come back, and especially the cruise industry. We're seeing that's actually not the case. It's coming back faster than we thought. The investments that we're seeing across all travel suppliers has really increased. They're growing their products. Globus announced they're going back to Cuba next year for Globus Exotics. So if you're thinking about, well, I was thinking about travel, but COVID and it's so prone, we're not seeing that be the case anymore. Travel is growing. All the cruise lines have tons of ships on order. Now is a great time, actually, especially if you're thinking, well, I really want to focus on X cruise lines. Look at that cruise line. Do they have a lot of ships on order? Is it a brand that you are naturally going to have an affinity to? Because that's going to really make you more successful. People always wonder, how is it you know so much about, I'll just be honest, my personal favorites for personal travel are Oceania and Celebrity. Well, because I have a passion for them, anytime I see a news article about them, a tweet, an Instagram story, I look at it. So that increases my knowledge. So if this is an industry you're thinking about coming into, can it be lucrative? Yes. Can it be fun? Yes. But you really have to have a passion for it. This really isn't an industry where you can kind of have a toe in and be successful. Yes. Can you have a toe in and book your friends and family? Sure. And if you're happy with that, great. And here at Avoya, we have many independent agency owners that maybe are $100,000 a year agency, and we have plenty that are $1 million agency. One thing I love about Avoya is we don't put pressure on you. We never set a sales target. Hey, $100,000 agency, we want to see you at 200,000 next year. If you have that pressure, we will help you get there, but we're never going to put that pressure on you. But I would really say if you're thinking about coming into the travel industry, now's a great time to kind of put your foothold in. We had a lot of very seasoned, successful agencies decide to retire during COVID because they were close to the end of their careers and they just thought this is a good time to hold it up. Now that we're seeing a lot of newer to travel, especially in the premium and mass market sets, there's a reason why Royal Caribbean and Celebrity are now doing shorter cruises because they're getting a lot to new to travel. Virgin Voyages, brand new on the line. Explorer Journeys, brand new on the line. There's a lot of pent up demand, and I think a lot of new products where agencies that really can key in where they have an affinity could really be successful and grow a very, very meaningful income producing business for themselves if they choose to really go where the money's going, where the market's going. And when we see these certain brands make these moves, shows me, well, obviously Royal Caribbean's not, going anywhere with the ships that they have on order. Same thing with NCL, same thing with Carnival Corp. These brands aren't going anywhere and they're just going to keep growing and they're finding new ways to get new to travel business, those new to cruising. And I think it's a great time to think about joining this industry if you have a passion for it, but you really do need to have a passion for it.
It almost seems redundant at this point to ask you the big final question because of all of your answers, but I ask it anyway because I just think it's important for that final exclamation point on our conversation. But anything changed in your positive stance on the future of leisure travel since our last visit here at On Deck with Avoya?
Just that. We're seeing all travel bounce back. During COVID, obviously we saw a huge increase in resort travel. People wanting to go to Hawaii, all inclusives of Mexico, and that business is still there. It seems like every month there's a new, all beautiful 4 or 5 star all inclusive opening up in the DR or Cancun or Puerto Vallarta area. So definitely the last time we spoke, a lot of the companies in travel, especially the big cruise lines, the big corporations, were just doing what they could to finance debt and just trying to kind of keep the wheels going. There was still a lot of staff shortages at that time. I will tell you, I was just on a cruise in May. It was the first time I was back on a cruise where there was no staff shortages at all noticeable. I've cruised plenty of times at the end of COVID and, as we were kind of going through the different waves. And although the ships were getting more full, the staff shortages were still there and they were evident in terms of service. The last few times I've been traveling, those staff shortages are gone. And so now we're starting to see companies not only make investments to bring their lines and their experience back up to pre-COVID levels, we're seeing them actually increase some of their offerings, go even further into luxury. And that's really been encouraging to see. And the one thing we're seeing all the cruise lines is before, and all the travel companies, it was about, okay, just keeping the lights on, paying down debt. Now we're seeing them actually come to market with different offerings. Oceania had O-Life Choice for ages, and now they've become more all-inclusive with Simply More, and creating what I think is a fantastic offering for their product. So we're seeing cruise lines kind of really, really put COVID in the rearview mirror. They're paying down debt. They've got their service levels back to where they want them to be, and they're no longer suffering there in their call centers or the ones that you're interacting with when you're experiencing their product. And we're seeing them make forward investments into making sure that their product is amazing and great for the next generation of travelers. That's been the real exciting thing to see and why I think it's an interesting time to be in the business.
Daniel Dobrott, everyone, Director of Brand Sales for Avoya Travel. Danny, we always love having you on as a guest, and we thank you for that great discussion today.
Thank you, Chris. Anytime.
Next week, we've got a returning guest from within the Avoya network, my good friend and great supporter of On Deck with Avoya, Brando Quinn, owner of Brando's Fun and Sun Travel, an independent agency in the Avoya network. The last time we had Brando on, it was one of our most engaged with episodes, was filled with lots of great information, some amazing stories, And we just can't wait to have Brando back on the show again next Thursday at our normal time, which is 2:15 Eastern, 11:15 a.m. Pacific. Let's talk about promotions for a second, because we're certainly proud of our ongoing military promotion where we're saving veterans and their spouses, active duty, retired, $100 off the affiliation fee. There are details available at avoyanetwork.com. If you get a request in, my team is more than happy to provide all the details and help make sure that you're qualified and you get that discount. So again, reach out avoyanetwork.com. If you're new to the industry, the ground floor really is about getting yourself that education so that you can start to service clients, so you can start to build the picture that Danny was just talking about. And the best way to do that for our money, and hopefully for your money too, is travel agent education powered by Avoya. It's an amazing curriculum. It does not take a big commitment, right? Because we always say, you really need like at least 20 solid hours that you're devoted to your business. So if the curriculum takes 35 to 40 hours, you're talking about a couple of week commitment if you're really serious about it. Available in both written and audio formats, an amazing value added with the free membership to CLIA and to ASTA. And of course, your travel agent recognition certificate is recognized industry-wide. So again, travel agent education powered by Avoya. And then you can get into the network, and then you can start taking advantage of the best-in-class resources that help make us the #1 host agency in leisure travel. Agent Power, our amazing technology platform. Our live leads, as Danny said, the majority of the sales in our network, even amongst our $1 million sales agents and above, are primarily from live leads that Avoya's marketing has generated. It is the #1 and most important resource in leisure travel. And I know I'm biased when I say that, but you can crunch the numbers and you're going to find out that I'm right. So again, go to avoyanetwork.com and make sure that you get that information. Make sure you give us a follow, a like, ring the notification bell, subscribe, all of that cool stuff that you can do on social media at Avoya Travel Network. We would love for you to be able to get all the latest information, especially as things are unveiled and things are new come out. We kind of give you some teasers. So never miss a beat. Join us there on social media. And of course, make sure you go to the website, avoyanetwork.com, or pick up the phone and give us a call. Send me an email at chris.greene@avoyatravel.com. Watch our show on a weekly basis. There's lots to learn. So we just want to engage with you. We want to tell our story. We want to answer your questions. If it's a good fit, we can move things forward. You can be a member of the #1 of network and leisure travel. That's the Avoya Network. Thanks again to Daniel Dobrott for that great discussion on brand sales. Thanks to Annabella from Trade Marketing for producing our show today. Thank you for being part of On Deck with Avoya. We can't wait for Brando next Thursday. Until then, take care, everyone.